The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Ambassador Yuna had ever seen. It stretched so far that the ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Thousands of alien delegates sat in floating chairs that moved silently through the air. Lights of every color blinked and glowed around the massive chamber. The smell was strange. A mix of chemicals and perfumes from 100 different worlds. Yuna stood at the human platform, a small circle of metal near the back of the hall. Humans had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago. In galactic time, that was nothing. Most species here had been members for thousands of years. Some had been here since the council began, over 10,000 years in the past. Captain Tay stood beside her in his military uniform. His face showed nothing, but Yuna knew him well enough to see the tension in his jaw. They had worked together for 8 years. He was her protector, her advisor, and her friend. "The Velox delegate is speaking again," Tay said quietly. Yuna watched the tall, blue-skinned alien on the main platform. High Delegate Morin was ancient, even by Velox standards. His 4 eyes looked down at the assembly with clear boredom. The Velox had ruled the council for 3,000 years. They believed they were the most important species in the galaxy. "He has been talking for 2 hours, Yuna said. "About nothing. That is politics," Tay replied. The truth was harder than politics. Humans were not respected here. When Earth first made contact with alien life, humanity had celebrated. They thought they would join a community of wise and peaceful beings. They were wrong. The galaxy was old and tired. The great species had long ago stopped exploring. They stopped inventing. They stopped caring about anything new. They sat in their ancient ships and looked down on anyone younger than them. Humans were the youngest species in the council, and the other races never let them forget it. Primitives, they called humans. Children. Barely evolved animals. Plan. It did not matter that human engineers had fixed problems that alien scientists could not solve. It did not matter that human doctors had cured diseases that had killed millions on other worlds. It did not matter that human peacekeepers had stopped 3 wars in the past decade. None of it mattered. Because humans were young, and young meant weak, young meant stupid, young meant worthless. Yuna had spent her entire career fighting against this thinking. She had given speeches. She had written proposals. She had begged and argued and pleaded. Sometimes, she won small victories. Most times, she failed. Today, she would try again. "The council recognizes the human delegation," a mechanical voice announced. Yuna walked to the speaking platform. Her shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. Around her, thousands of alien eyes turned to watch. Some looked curious. Most looked bored. A few looked angry that their time was being wasted. "Distinguished delegates," Yuna began. "I come before you today with a simple proposal." She pressed a button and a hologram appeared above her. It showed charts and graphs that her team had worked on for months. Humanity asks for fair trade agreements with council members. Currently, we pay 3 times more for basic resources than any other species. We receive half the payment for our exports. This is not balanced. This is not just. She pointed to the numbers floating in the air. Our proposal would create equal terms for all species. Humans would pay the same prices as everyone else. We would receive the same payment for our goods. Nothing more. Nothing less. Yuna paused and looked around the room. We have served this council faithfully for 50 years. Our engineers maintain stations across 100 worlds. Our doctors work in hospitals on planets we have never even visited. Our soldiers have died protecting species who call us primitives. We ask only for fairness in return. She stepped back from the speaking position. Thank you for your consideration. For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter began. It started with the Velox delegation. High Delegate Morin made a strange sound that Yuna had learned was their version of laughing. Other species joined in. The sound grew and grew until it filled the massive hall. Yuna stood very still. Her face did not change. Behind her, she could feel Tay's anger like heat from a fire. High Delegate Morin rose from his floating chair. He drifted toward the speaking platform, his long robes trailing behind him. The human wants fairness, he said. His translator turned his words into perfect English, but could not hide the mockery in his voice. How touching. More laughter. Let me explain something to you, child, Morin continued. Your species learned to make fire only yesterday. You discovered space travel the day before that. You are infants crawling on the floor while adults conduct important business. He leaned closer to Yuna. Be grateful we allow you here at all. Be grateful we buy anything you make. Be grateful we do not simply take your little planet and use it for mining. Yuna felt her heart pounding, but her voice remained calm. We have contributed much to this council. You have contributed nothing, Morin snapped. Your engineers? We allow them to work so they can learn from us. Your doctors? We humor their primitive medicine. Your soldiers? We let them play at war so they feel important. He turned to face the assembly. The human proposal is rejected. All those in favor of rejection? Thousands of lights turned red. Not a single light turned green. The motion passes. The mechanical voice said. The human proposal is rejected. Morin looked back at Yuna. Go home, little human. Go back to your tiny planet and be thankful for what you have. Do not waste our time with your requests again. Yuna bowed her head slightly. I understand, High Delegate. She turned and walked back to the human platform. Tay fell into step beside her. His hands were shaking with rage, but his face remained stone. Yuna, he whispered. We cannot let this stand. No, she agreed quietly. We cannot. They reached their platform and sat down. The council moved on to other business. No one looked at the human delegation. No one cared what they thought or felt, but something had changed in Yuna's eyes. The hope that had burned there for so many years was gone. In its place was something cold, something patient, something that Morin and the others would not recognize until it was far too late. She looked at Tay and nodded once. He understood. That night, Yuna sent a message to Earth. It contained only 4 words. Begin protocol, quiet dawn. The humans had made a decision. They would not fight. They would not argue. They would not beg anymore. They would simply walk away, and the galaxy would learn what happened when humans stopped caring. The meeting room on Earth was small compared to the Galactic Council Hall. It had plain white walls, a wooden table, and 12 chairs. But the people sitting in those chairs held the future of humanity in their hands. Yuna sat at one end of the table. Tay stood behind her, his arms crossed over his chest. Around them sat the leaders of Earth. Presidents, generals, scientists, and diplomats. President Quan spoke first. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had led Earth through many difficult years. Ambassador Yuna, we received your message, he said. Protocol Quiet Dawn. That is a serious step. I understand, sir, Yuna replied. But I believe it is necessary. General Hana leaned forward. She was a tall woman with short black hair and a scar across her left cheek. She had commanded human forces in 3 galactic conflicts. Tell us exactly what happened, she said. Yuna explained everything. The proposal, the laughter, the rejection, the insults. She spoke calmly, without emotion, as if she was reading a report about someone else. When she finished, the room was silent. Dr. Wu, the head of Earth's medical corps, shook his head slowly. They called our medicine primitive. We cured the Kellogg's plague. We saved 2 billion lives on Morin's own planet. They do not remember that, Yuna said. Or they choose not to remember. Then perhaps we should remind them, General Hana said. Tay spoke for the first time. With respect, General, that would be a mistake. If we fight, we give them what they expect. Humans are emotional. Humans are violent. Humans cannot control themselves. They will use our anger against us. Then what do you suggest, Captain? President Quan asked. Tay looked at Yuna. She nodded and stood up. Protocol Quiet Dawn is not about fighting, she said. It is about leaving. Quietly. Peacefully. Without any warning, she pressed a button, and a map of the galaxy appeared above the table. Thousands of small lights showed human presence across alien space. We have engineers on 427 stations, doctors in 362 hospitals, peacekeepers on 91 conflict zones, teachers, scientists, builders, and workers on almost every major world. She waved her hand and the lights began to blink. Protocol Quiet Dawn means we call them all home. Every single human outside Earth returns. We stop all exports. We close all trade routes. We end all communication with the Council. General Hana frowned. That would take months. Maybe years. It would take exactly 14 months, Yuna said. We have planned this carefully. And if they try to stop us? Another leader asked. They will not, Tay said. Because they will not notice until it is too late. We will not announce anything. We will not make speeches. We will simply leave, one person at a time, one station at a time, so slowly that they will not see the pattern until we are gone. President Kwan rubbed his eyes. He looked older than he had at the start of the meeting. What happens after we leave? He asked. Yuna turned off the map. That is not our problem anymore. The words hung in the air. They were cold. They were harsh. They were not like Yuna at all. Ambassador, Dr. Wu said gently. I know you are hurt. We all are. But should we really punish innocent people for the actions of their leaders? Yuna turned to face him. Her eyes were calm, but something burned deep inside them. For 50 years, I have tried to make them see us as equals. For 50 years, I have smiled while they insulted us. For 50 years, I have begged for basic respect. She placed her hands flat on the table. I am done begging. I am done smiling. And I am done pretending that their words do not hurt. She straightened up. They want us gone? Fine. We will go. Every engineer who keeps their stations running. Every doctor who heals their sick. Every soldier who guards their borders. Gone. And if they suffer, Dr. Wu pressed, then perhaps they will learn something. Yuna's voice was quiet but hard as stone. You cannot treat people like dirt and expect them to stay forever. You cannot mock someone's help and then demand they keep helping. Actions have consequences, even for the mighty Galactic Council. The room fell silent again. Outside, birds sang in the trees. Somewhere far away, a child laughed. Life continued normally, unaware of the decision being made in this small room. Finally, President Kwan spoke. Let us vote. All in favor of Protocol Quiet Dawn? One by one, hands rose around the table. Some rose quickly, others rose slowly. But in the end, every hand was up. The motion passes, President Kwan said. Protocol Quiet Dawn begins immediately. Yuna bowed her head. Thank you, sir. I will coordinate the withdrawal. Ambassador, the president said. Are you certain this is the right choice? Once we start, there is no going back. Yuna looked at him with those calm, cold eyes. They laughed at us, sir. In front of the entire galaxy. They laughed at us. They called us animals. They threatened to take our planet. And not one species stood up for us. Not one voice spoke in our defense. She walked toward the door. We do not owe them anything. Not our work, not our help, not even our anger. We owe them only silence. She paused at the door and looked back. Let them laugh. Soon, they will have plenty of time to think about what they have done. In the quiet. Alone. She left the room. Tay followed close behind. The withdrawal began that same night. It started small. An engineer on a distant station received a message. Come home. She packed her bags, told her alien co-workers she had a family emergency, and left on the next transport. A doctor on a hospital ship got the same message. He finished his current patient, handed his files to an alien colleague, and quietly walked away. A teacher at an academy on the Velox homeworld told her students she was taking a vacation. She never returned. Day by day, week by week, humans began to disappear. They did not make announcements. They did not say goodbye. They simply left. Some aliens noticed. A few asked questions. But the humans always had simple answers. Family problems, health issues, Personal reasons. No one saw the pattern. No one connected the dots. Because no one was looking. Why would they? Humans were not important. Humans did not matter. Humans were just primitives who should be grateful for any attention at all. And so the galaxy continued to spin. The council continued to meet. The Velox continued to rule. And one by one, the humans walked away in silence. Just as they had promised. 6 months had passed since Protocol Quiet Dawn began. On the surface, nothing seemed different. The Galactic Council still met in their Great Hall. Ships still flew between the stars. Trade still moved through the ancient routes. But if you looked closely, you could see small changes. Empty chairs where human workers once sat. Closed doors where human offices once operated. Silent rooms where human voices once laughed and talked. Station Commander Vorl of the Kellocs noticed first. He was a large creature with green scales and 6 arms. He ran Mining Station Theta 7, one of the biggest in the outer regions. For 20 years, human engineers had kept his station running. Now there were none left. What do you mean? They are all gone? Vorl demanded. His voice echoed through the empty engineering bay. His assistant, a young Kellocs named Prill, checked his datapad. The last human engineer left 3 days ago. Commander. She said her mother was sick. And the one before that? His wife was having a baby. And before that? Prill scrolled through his records. Wedding. Funeral. Medical emergency. Family reunion. He looked up. Commander. They all had reasons. Vorl slammed 2 of his fists on the console. 23 human engineers do not all have family emergencies at the same time. Something is wrong. Should we contact the council? Prill asked. No, Vorl said after a pause. They will think we cannot run our own station. We will handle this ourselves. Hire new workers. Yes, Commander. Prill hesitated. Sir, there is one other problem. What? The reactor core. The humans were running special programs to keep it stable. Without them, we do not know what those programs do, and we cannot figure out their code. Vorl stared at the young Kellocs. What are you saying? I am saying the reactor might fail, Commander, and we do not know how to stop it. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On the Velox homeworld, Dr. J was the last human to leave the Central Medical Center. She had worked there for 15 years. She had saved more Velox lives than she could count. When she walked out the door for the final time, the hospital administrator stopped her. Dr. J, the Velox said, your vacation request was approved, but we expected you to return by now. Where are you going? J smiled politely. It was the same smile she had used for 15 years. The smile that hid her frustration. The smile that covered her pain when patients refused to thank her because she was human. Home, she said simply. When will you return? I will not. The administrator blinked all 4 of his eyes. What do you mean? We have 300 patients in critical care. The Moran fever outbreak is spreading. We need you. You said human medicine was primitive, Jay replied. Her voice was calm. You said we were just playing at healing. I am sure your advanced Velox doctors can handle everything. She walked past him toward the transport dock. The administrator called after her, but she did not look back. On the border worlds, the same story repeated again and again. Human peacekeepers handed in their weapons and left their posts. Human negotiators walked away from peace talks. Human guards abandoned their positions at checkpoints. Captain Sung was one of the last to leave. He had commanded a peacekeeping force on the planet Relox 4 for 12 years. His soldiers had prevented 3 civil wars and countless smaller conflicts. When his replacement arrived, a young Velox officer with shiny new armor, Sung handed over the command codes without a word. Is there anything I should know? The Velox officer asked. Sung looked at him for a long moment. He thought about all the things he could say, all the warnings he could give, all the secrets of the local tribes and their ancient hatreds. No, he said finally. I am sure you will figure it out. He walked away. Behind him, He could already hear the Velox officer struggling to communicate with the local leaders. They did not trust aliens. They had only trusted Sung because he had earned that trust over many years. But that was not his problem anymore. The council finally began to notice after 8 months. High Delegate Morin received reports from dozens of worlds. Missing humans, empty positions, abandoned stations. He called an emergency session of the council. "This is clearly some kind of protest," he announced. "The humans are angry about their rejected proposal. They are trying to make us feel guilty." Other delegates nodded in agreement. "Typical primitive behavior," said the Kellogg's representative. "They do not get what they want, so they throw a tantrum." "Should we send a message?" another delegate asked. "Demand they return to their posts?" Morin laughed. His 4 eyes sparkled with amusement. "Why would we do that? Let them go. Let them hide on their little planet and feel sorry for themselves. We managed the galaxy for 10,000 years before they arrived. We will manage it long after they are forgotten." The council agreed. No message was sent. No questions were asked. The humans wanted to leave? Fine. Good riddance. But there was one delegate who did not laugh. Ambassador Krill of the Morvax was very old. Even older than Moron. He had seen many things in his long life. And he remembered something the others had forgotten. Long ago, before humans joined the council, the galaxy had been in trouble. Ancient systems were failing. Old technologies were breaking down. The great species had grown lazy and forgot how to fix things. Then the humans came. Young, eager, full of energy. They learned quickly. They worked hard. They filled in the gaps that no one else wanted to fill. Krill remembered a time when a plague swept through the outer regions. The great species did nothing. It was not their problem. But the humans sent doctors. Thousands of doctors. They worked day and night. They saved billions of lives. He remembered when the Kellogg's Wars threatened to tear apart the galactic trade routes. The great species talked and debated for years. But the humans sent peacekeepers. They stopped the fighting in 6 months. He remembered when the mining stations began to fail. When the reactors grew old and unstable. The great species said it was too dangerous to fix them. But the humans went anyway. They crawled inside the machines. They wrote new programs. They kept everything running. Krill looked around the laughing council and felt a cold fear in his heart. "We have made a terrible mistake," he whispered. But no one heard him. On Earth, Yuna watched the reports come in. Every day, more humans came home. Every day, another station was left empty. Another hospital without doctors. Another border without guards. 12 months, Tay reported. "We are ahead of schedule." Yuna nodded. "They think we are throwing a tantrum. They expect us to come crawling back any day now. They are wrong." "Yes," Tay agreed. "They are very wrong." Tay agreed. Outside the window, ships filled with returning humans descended through the clouds. Men and women who had given their lives to the galaxy were finally coming home. They looked tired. They looked sad. But they also looked relieved. No more insults. No more mockery. No more pretending everything was fine. They were home. And they would never leave again. "The galaxy will burn," Tay said quietly. Yuna did not answer. She simply watched the ships land. One after another. Carrying her people back from a universe that did not deserve them. "Let it burn," she thought. "We tried to help. We tried for 50 years. Now it is someone else's turn." The silence was just beginning. The first station exploded on a cold morning in Galactic Standard Time. Mining Station Theta 7. The one Commander Vorl had worried about. Lit up the darkness of space like a tiny sun. The reactor had failed. Without the human engineers to maintain it, the old programs had stopped working. The core had overheated. 12,000 workers died in an instant. Vorl was one of them. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The council called an emergency meeting. High Delegate Morin stood at the speaking platform. his 4 eyes showing rare concern. "This was an accident," he declared. "A terrible tragedy, but nothing more. Our engineers will investigate and prevent future incidents." But the incidents kept happening. 3 weeks later, a hospital ship in the outer regions lost all power. The backup systems failed. 2,000 patients died before help could arrive. A month after that, the peace treaty on Relox 4 collapsed. The young Velox officer had tried to negotiate with the local tribes, but he did not understand their customs. He insulted their leader by accident. The civil war that Captain Sung had prevented for 12 years exploded in a single night. Millions died in the first wave of fighting. The Moran fever, which Dr. J had been treating on the Velox homeworld, spread without control. The Velox doctors did not know the special techniques that humans had developed. They could not stop it. Entire cities fell sick. The death toll climbed into the hundreds of millions, and still, the council did not understand. "We need more resources," Moran demanded. "More money for research. More ships for peacekeeping. More doctors for the hospitals." But money could not replace knowledge. Ships could not replace trust. And doctors could not appear out of thin air. The problems got worse. Trade routes began to fail. The navigation systems on ancient cargo ships had been maintained by human technicians. Now those technicians were gone. Ships got lost. Shipments never arrived. Prices for basic goods began to rise. Factories shut down. Power plants failed. Communication networks went dark. It was not one big disaster. It was 1,000 small ones. Each problem seemed minor on its own. But together, they formed a wave that swept across the galaxy. Ambassador Krill watched it all happen. He had warned them. He had tried to tell them. But no one had listened. Now it was too late. He requested a private meeting with High Delegate Moran. The old Velox leader looked tired. His blue skin had lost its shine. His 4 eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Ambassador Krill," Moran said, "I suppose you have come to say you were right." "I have come to offer advice," Krill replied. "What advice? How to fix the power stations? How to cure the plague? How to stop the wars?" Moran laughed bitterly. "We are doing everything we can." "It is not enough. Contact the humans," Krill said. Moran stared at him. "What? Contact them. Apologize. Beg them to come back." The High Delegate shook his head slowly. "I cannot do that. The Council would never agree. It would make us look weak." "We are weak," Krill said bluntly. "We have been weak for centuries. We just did not know it because the humans were covering for us." Moran turned away. He walked to the window of his office and looked out at the great city below. Even here, on the capital world of the Velox Empire, there were signs of trouble. Dark buildings where the power had failed. Empty streets where people were afraid to go outside. Smoke rising from distant fires. "How did this happen?" he asked quietly. "We ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We built empires that spanned star systems. We created wonders that lesser species could not imagine. And then we stopped," Krill said. "We stopped building. We stopped learning. We stopped trying. We became lazy and proud. We thought our past greatness would last forever." He moved to stand beside Moran at the window. The humans were different. They were young and hungry. They wanted to prove themselves. They worked harder than anyone else because they had something to prove. And we mocked them for it. Moran closed his eyes. "I remember the vote. When that human ambassador presented her proposal, I laughed at her. I called her people, animals." "Yes," Krill said, "you did. I thought I was showing strength. I thought I was putting them in their place. You were showing cruelty. And now they have shown us what strength really looks like." Moran opened his eyes. "What do you mean?" Krill turned to face him. "They did not attack us. They did not threaten us. They did not demand revenge. They simply walked away. In silence. Without anger. Without hate. Just silence." He paused. "That is true strength, High Delegate. The strength to walk away from those who hurt you. The strength to let your absence speak louder than any words. We could never do that. We are too proud, too angry, too certain of our own importance. Morin was quiet for a long time. Outside, another building went dark. What do we do now? He asked finally. We reach out to them. We admit we were wrong. We ask for their help. They will refuse. Probably, Krill agreed. But we must try. It is all we can do. Morin nodded slowly. I will propose it to the council tomorrow. The next day, the Galactic Council met again. But it was not the same proud assembly that had laughed at Ambassador Yuna. The delegates looked scared. Their worlds were falling apart. Their people were dying. Morin stood at the speaking platform. His voice was hoarse. I propose that we send a message to Earth. A formal apology. A request for their return. No one laughed this time. No one mocked him for showing weakness. Because they all knew the truth. They were drowning. And humans were the only ones who could save them. The vote passed without opposition. That night, a message was sent across the stars to the small blue planet called Earth. It was long and formal, filled with diplomatic language and careful phrases. But the meaning was simple. We are sorry. Please come back. We need you. On Earth, Yuna read the message in her office. Tay stood beside her, as he always did. They are begging, he said. Yes. What will you tell them? Yuna looked out the window at the peaceful Earth sky. No fires, no plagues, no wars. Just blue sky and white clouds and green trees. Nothing, she said. They will send more messages. Let them. Tay frowned. Yuna, millions are dying out there. Whatever they did to us, the common people do not deserve to suffer. Yuna turned to look at him. Her eyes were still cold, but there was a crack in the ice. A hint of the woman she had been before the council had broken something inside her. I know, she said softly. But if we go back now, nothing will change. They will use us until the crisis is over, then throw us away again. We need them to truly understand what they have lost. How will we know when they understand? Yuna looked back at the message on her screen. When they stop asking us to come back, she said. When they start asking what they can do to make things right, the galaxy continued to burn, and the humans continued to wait, in silence. 2 years had passed since the humans walked away. The galaxy was not the same place it had been. The great Velox Empire had lost a third of its territory. Entire star systems had gone dark when their power stations failed. Billions had fled to the remaining worlds, creating chaos and shortage everywhere. The Kellocs had retreated to their home regions. Their mining operations had collapsed. Their economy was in ruins. Their proud civilization, which had stood for 8,000 years, was breaking apart. The Morvacs had sealed their borders. They would not let anyone in or out. No one knew what was happening inside their space. Some said they were dying. Others said they were simply hiding, waiting for the storm to pass. And everywhere, smaller species suffered. Trade had stopped. Medicine was scarce. Food was running out. The council met one final time in their great hall. But it did not look great anymore. Half the lights were broken. The floating chairs sat empty on the ground because the power to lift them had failed. The smell of decay hung in the air. Only a few dozen delegates remained. High Delegate Moran was among them, but he was a broken shadow of what he had been. His blue skin was gray. His 4 eyes were dull. He moved slowly, like a man carrying a weight too heavy to bear. We have sent 47 messages to Earth, he said. His voice echoed in the empty hall. They have not responded to any of them. No one spoke. What was there to say? Ambassador Krill rose from his seat. He was the oldest being in the room, perhaps the oldest in the galaxy. But even he looked tired now. I will go to Earth myself, he said. Face to face. Perhaps they will listen. Morin shook his head. They will not see you. They might. Why would they? What do we have to offer them? Our technology is failing. Our empires are collapsing. Our pride is all we have left. And even that is worthless. Krill smiled sadly. Then I will offer the only thing that matters. The truth. He left the council hall and boarded a small ship. It took 3 months to reach Earth because the fast routes had all failed. He had to travel the long way, through empty space, past dead stations and burning worlds. When he finally reached Earth, he found something strange. The planet was beautiful, green and blue and white, spinning peacefully in the darkness. But more than that, it was surrounded by ships. Thousands of ships. A fleet larger than any he had ever seen. Human ships. His communication system crackled to life. Unknown vessel. This is Earth Defense Command. State your purpose. I am Ambassador Krill of the Morvax. I wish to speak with Ambassador Yuna. There was a long pause. Then, hold your position. You will be escorted. 2 human warships appeared beside him. They were sleek and powerful, clearly new designs. The technology was impressive. More impressive than anything the Council had built in centuries. Krill understood now. The humans had not been idle during their 50 years in the Council. They had been learning, watching, growing, and now, free from the burden of serving others, they had built something magnificent. He was brought to a small room on a station orbiting Earth. Yuna was waiting for him. She looked older than he remembered. Her hair had streaks of gray, but her eyes were sharp. Ambassador Krill, she said, I did not expect to see you again. I did not expect to come. He sat down across from her. I am here to beg. I know. The galaxy is dying. Billions have already perished. Billions more will follow. We need your help. Yuna did not respond. She simply watched him with those calm, patient eyes. Krill continued. I know what we did was wrong. I know the Council treated your people terribly. I know you have every right to hate us. I know you have every right to hate us. We do not hate you, Yuna said quietly. Hate requires energy, passion. We feel neither for the Council anymore. Then what do you feel? Yuna was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Nothing. We gave the galaxy everything we had. Our knowledge, our skills, our lives, and we received only contempt in return. Now there is nothing left to feel. Krill bowed his head. I am sorry. I was one of the few who saw what the humans meant to us. But I did not speak loudly enough. I did not fight hard enough. That is my shame. Your shame is noted, Yuna said, but it does not change anything. Then tell me what will. What must we do? What can we offer? I will give you anything. Everything. Just tell me what you want. Yuna leaned forward slightly. You want to know what we want? Yes, we want what we always wanted. Respect. Equality. To be treated as partners, not servants. To be valued for who we are, not tolerated for what we can do. She stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung in the darkness below, beautiful and peaceful. For 50 years, we asked for these things. We begged for them. We argued and pleaded and hoped that someday, the galaxy would see us as equals. But you never did. You never even tried. She turned back to face Krill. Now it is too late. The Council is broken. The old empires are falling. The galaxy you knew is gone forever. Then help us build a new one, Krill said desperately. A better one. One where humans and aliens truly work together. Why should we? We have everything we need right here. Our people are safe. Our planet is secure. We owe the galaxy nothing. Krill stared at her. He saw the coldness in her eyes, the wall she had built around her heart, and he understood that no argument would break through it, so he tried something else. You are right, he said quietly. You owe us nothing. But I am not asking you to save the Council. I am asking you to save the children. Yuna paused. What? There are millions of children in the galaxy right now who are sick, hungry, scared. They did not mock your people. They did not laugh at your ambassador. They were not even born when those things happened. They are innocent. Krill's voice cracked. I am very old, Ambassador. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched empires burn and new ones grow from the ashes, but in all my years, I have never stopped caring about the children. They are the only thing worth saving. For the first time, something flickered in Yuna's eyes, a crack in the ice. I am not asking you to forgive us, Krill continued. I am not asking you to forget what we did. I am only asking you to help those who cannot help themselves. Not for us. For them. The room was silent. Outside, the stars burned on, uncaring. Finally, Yuna spoke. The council must be dissolved. Completely. No more votes. No more delegates. No more hierarchy of species. Agreed. Any future cooperation will be between equals. Humans will not be servants or helpers. We will be partners or nothing. Agreed. And High Delegate Morin must personally apologize. Not to me, not to the council, to all of humanity. In a message that every human can see. Krill nodded slowly. I will make it happen. Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Then she walked back to her chair and sat down. Then we have a beginning. Only a beginning. Trust must be earned, Ambassador. It will take time. I understand. One more thing. Yuna's voice was firm. If humanity ever faces disrespect again, if any species ever treats us as less than equal, we will leave. Immediately. Permanently. And this time, we will not come back. Krill rose and bowed deeply. I swear it on my life. Never again. He left the station that day with something he had not felt in years. Hope. 6 months later, human ships appeared in the skies of 100 dying worlds. They brought doctors and engineers and builders. They brought food and medicine and power cells. They did not ask for thanks. They did not demand praise. They simply worked. And slowly, very slowly, the galaxy began to heal. Yuna stood on Earth, watching the ships depart. Tay stood beside her, as always. Do you think it will be different this time? He asked. Yuna thought about the question for a long moment. I do not know, she admitted. But I know one thing. What? We taught them something important, something they will never forget. What is that? Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, but it was the first real smile she had shown in years. Silence can be louder than any scream, and those who are ignored can shake the very foundations of the universe. All they have to do is walk away. She watched the last ship disappear into the stars. Never underestimate the quiet ones. The galaxy had paid greatly for that lesson. But perhaps, in the end, it was worth the price.